We have hit over 140,000 rides to date since late last year. So that includes the winter months. We are,
Less than 1 year, 140,000 rides in less than
yes,
1 year. Wow.
including most of it, a good portion of it being the winter. So we are a four-season city over here.
All right.
Way to go, Grace. Yeah, and Grace has been a huge proponent and, played a major role in getting this launched.
Well, thanks to Kroc for having the master contract and to everyone else as well. Certainly really glad about the program, and maybe we'll have to share more wins later. I think we also have had over 10,000 individual riders, so that's a lot of people that are moving out and about. So that's all exciting news.
Very exciting. Let me see if I can find another council member and we can start this meeting. Oh, here we have Councilman Mictum. Excellent.
I am here.
Okay. All right. Well, so in that case, let's get started. We've got our quorum of 2. So good evening, everyone. I understand we're live, and this is the City of Hartford Court of Common Council Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee meeting for
recording in progress.
And now they've told me the recording is in progress. Okay. And this you can also view this on HPA-TV.org, on channel 96 on Comcast, and channel 6032 on Frontier. So we have 6 items on our agenda tonight. I'm John Gale. I'm the co-chair of the committee. I'm being joined this evening by Councilman Josh Mictum. Councilwoman Mali Rosado has joined, and I'll note others as they pop on. For the moment, however, and there are other people on the screen, and they'll be identified as we move along. We are also, though, joined by our Assistant Corporation Counsel, Richard Vasallo. Good evening, Attorney Vasallo, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Item number 1 on this agenda is Mayor Arulampalam with accompanying resolution to enter into a purchase and sales agreement for the sale of parcels at 17 and 21 Wells Street. This, as it concerns the sale of city property, went to a public hearing on Monday, April 21st, and it also had what we call an 824 review before the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I understand we have William Diaz from Development Services who's going to discuss this matter further for us. Mr. Diaz, it's yours.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to have a short presentation so that I can get access to sharing the screen. Let me see if it's open.
Try it. I don't know that.
Yeah.
Good.
It works. There we go. All right. So yeah, in front of you have the council resolution for the sale of 17 and 21 Wall Street, which we call a 525 Main Street Phase 2. Just to bring a recap, initially we selected WonderWorks as a developer through a RFP process, and that was for the sale of 521 525 Main Street, which is the building that has a cornerstone that was done in October 2019. Spectre was submitted the proposal. They were selected as a developer. When we sold and transferred the property initially, we actually, instead of selling the parking lot, we entered into a lease agreement with the development team because this is something that the previous administration really wanted to redevelop instead of having just another parking lot, instead of having a surface lot in the middle of downtown Hartford. So we gave them up to 10 years to develop it. At the time, they weren't ready to engaged with the development, but 2 years into the construction project, now they want to move forward with the redevelopment of the parking lot area. So what they're proposing at the 1721 Wells Street is 84 residential units consisting of studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. There's going to be parking on the first and second level, so there's going to be 58 on-site parking spaces. They're going to be doing the project with it's a $20.8 million budget. They're going to get money from CRDA, also a senior loan. We're going to have 20% workforce housing, which is falls between the 80 and the 120 AMI. Just a typical disposition agreement with a due diligence period, so they can wrap up their financing, finalize the design. They're also asking for a 20-year tax fixing agreement based on statutes 12.65B, which we ran by our consultants. Initially, the project came to us last year, and even with we tried to put a tax agreement together this was early in 2024, and the project didn't pencil out. So the developer went back to the drawing boards, came back with this revised proposal. Basically, instead of initially they wanted 6 floors of apartments, so that was reduced down to the to 4 floors in order to make this project actually pencil out financially. So what you see in front of you, this is the typical floor plans of the building. Some of the units here, and then it's the parking floor when you come in from Wells Street. As you can see, the entrance and the exit. And then there's also, so there's basement parking floor plan, and then there's parking in the first floor, and then we have the 4 residential units on top. And this is just a rendering of what it may look like. And you can see the building is connected with the building on 525 on every level, so it'll be flush on every floor with the parking beneath. And then these are some just concepts that they put together, what the apartments would look like inside. The 525 project is scheduled to be, was supposed to be completed at the end of this month. I'm not sure if I know, unfortunately, Daniel Kleinberg was not able to join us because he had something with his at his kid's school. I'm not sure if Joseph is here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so yeah, so some in case there's any questions, but these are some of the projects that they've worked on. 111 Pearl Street, 101 Pearl Street, Spectra by the park, and obviously 275 Pearl and 525, which are 2 of the projects that were city properties prior to us transferring the property over to them. So I do have Joseph Kleinberg here. If there's any questions directly to him, or if he wants to say anything else about the project that I didn't touch on.
All right, thank you. Maybe you can stop sharing your screen unless somebody wants to see something.
Okay. Go.
All right, Councilwoman Rosado or Councilman Mictum, anybody have questions? Seeing none from either of them at the moment, let me jump in. You mentioned a development agreement and a tax fixing agreement, but those are not before us tonight at this point in time, are they? And that question is to you, Mr. Diaz.
Yeah, yes, it is. So we have hold on. We're proposing a tax fixing agreement with the it's a 20-year tax fixing agreement where we do years 1 to 3 will remain flat, so it's 0% because it's not a taxable property, and then we're going up years 4 through 8 at 5% of the revenue. Then years 9 through 15 10% and 16 to 20 to 15%. So then it will level out to the current CRDA rate because there's CRDA funding in this project.
Okay, well, and this is being presented to us in a different form than we usually see these things. If there's a tax fixing agreement, we generally are looking at a multi-page term sheet that lays out, many of the things that you put in the slide, all the community benefits that will be part of it, et cetera. And I don't really see, even in the resolution that's in
You
front
didn't
of
get
us.
a, did you not
Well,
receive the term sheet?
I don't know, it's not attached to what I'm looking at right
Oh.
now. I see it says subject to review and approval of a term sheet. Now that term sheet does not seem to be attached to my package. I don't know if others saw it at any other time.
I can email it to you right now. It was submitted with.
Well, that's fine, but I'm kind of thinking we need to continue this to the next committee meeting to have an opportunity to think about that. I know you and I earlier today talked about this a little bit, but I didn't focus on the tax fixing aspect of this, just I thought this was just for the sale of the property at this time, and it was going to come back to us at some later date for a tax fixing agreement. I certainly defer to other members of the committee on this, but my own feeling is I'd really like to have an opportunity to review the term
Okay.
sheet.
I would agree.
Okay. Can we, Joseph, correct me if I'm wrong. The tax deal doesn't. If we move forward with this component of authorizing the sale, then it will give the mayor the authority to enter into a purchase and sales agreement. And usually the tax fixing agreement is executed prior to the closing.
Yes, I think whatever is the shortest way, we have all the terms been established, I believe, in 2021 with the previous administration, and everything was outlined. We're just following the same terms which was discussed and negotiated at that time, and I believe 2021 with previous administration, because we have option to purchase anytime during 5 years with 5 years extension. Now we feel like it's ready to do it. Actually, it started last year, but it takes time. So we'd like to have a PSA, and we'd like to sale to be transferred of property to be approved. And we're going to work on tax fixing agreement, which I believe was on some level was accepted and negotiated. And I just want to understand the urgency of the project, because we have a term sheet from senior lender and from CRDA. That term sheet, it's approval level of CRDA. Also, we have all investors lined up to move forward. So I don't want to lose this opportunity to move and just to go with development,
Yeah,
So
we don't want you to lose the opportunity either. But I'm hearing you that the term sheet, and the term sheets we're talking about are the term sheet of your deal with the city, and that term sheet, as I understand it, should mirror the term sheet that we previously approved upon the sale of 525 Main Street. And I'd like the opportunity to compare the two of them so the council knows that indeed the two of them are consistent. So I would hope that a 30-day delay in approval from this committee is not going to kill your deal. I can't imagine it would. These things have been years in the making, if I'm not mistaken. So I hope you'll bear with us on this and let us do this, in the manner that we typically do things, so that we're not rushing to judgment here. I don't think anybody wants.
I understand. The time is critical for us, so if it can be expedited, we'll appreciate, because we're like 2 weeks or 3 weeks away from TCO and occupancy of this building. We have already lined up 33 tenants, and we're gonna for this phase one. So we'd like to move the team, from one project to start working, since we have a great team to work on the extension, which is phase two. So as soon as we can get it approved or approved later, we'd like to know sure it's pre-approved and we can proceed with the finalizing the drawings and mechanicals.
You
Yeah,
know,
we
if I
should be
can
able to make that
interject,
happen in probably a 6-week time frame for you.
and I wonder if before there's any motion to postpone, since we do have the people here involved, I actually do have I have a question that will be relevant now or when it comes back. So I wonder if I could just ask that question.
No, go for it.
So, Mr. Diaz, you said, I think that 20% was what's called workforce housing, which is 80% ALI. That's area
between 80 and 120.
of the area. Remind me, I guess what I'm getting is what is the area upon which ALI is
AMI.
calculated?
So
AMI, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, it's not just the city of Hartford. So it does include East Hartford, West Hartford, and other municipalities in the area.
I mean, I'm sorry to be a nudge here, but like, do you know, is it just the municipalities that touch, or is it like the Krog 29 town circle?
No, let me see.
Or, give or take, you know what I mean? Or better yet, what is the area median income? That's really the thing I'd like to know.
Okay, bear with me, see if I can get to the actual towns that are included in this.
I think every town has designated different schedule, and Hartford have the schedule we have downloaded from government website.
And while you're looking, Mr. Diaz, I appreciate it. I mean, the reason I ask, of course, is because the difference between Hartford's median income and the median income of many of its neighbors is, like 50%. As in, like, our median income is $41,000 per household. I think West Hartford's is like 80. So when we say 80 to 120% of that amount, it's nice to know that what we're really talking about is like 300% of what the average Hartford family can afford, or whatever it is. If that's hard to get, Mr. Diaz, you don't have to go crazy. We're going to come back to this so we can put a pin in it. I don't want to.
Yeah, I just want to.
We can put a pin in it and talk about it when we get the term sheet.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just don't want to give you. I just don't want to. I know it includes West Hartford, and I don't want to not include everything that's in there. I want to be accurate with
Understood. Yeah, we'll put it over to next time then.
All right, Councilor Mictum, anything else? I know Councilwoman Rosado had her hand up as well.
I got nothing else.
Councilwoman?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I was just going to make a motion based on our conversation before Councilman Mixtum had his question to postpone this resolution in committee.
Second.
Second, okay. Any other discussion on that? All right, all in favor of postponing this to the next meeting of this committee, say aye.
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 All right, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Diaz and Joseph. Thank you, and we will move this forward once we get everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so moving on to item number 2.2 on the agenda, Mayor Arullampalam with accompanying resolution authorizing the city of Hartford surplus dollars to purchase 3 parcels identified as 255 Garden Street, 51 Homestead Avenue, and 101 Homestead Avenue. And I believe, Mr. Diaz, you are up again.
Okay, thank you guys. I'm gonna do the same thing. I have a few slides.
Sure.
So back in November 2024, the city of Hartford entered into a non-binding LOI agreement to purchase those 3 parcels, 51 and 101 Homestead, and also 255 Garden Street. That was done with the intent of trying to find funding to purchase these properties. In December of 2024, we submitted a CIF application to fund the purchase of these parcels, as we were in the middle of engaging with Collier's Engineering and Design to do a study on a redevelopment plan on the Homestead corridor. So the purchase of these parcels would give the city control on Homestead all the way from Sigourney down to Garden Street. So basically, the city of Hartford would control that whole block. The city was actually awarded the $1.6 million from DECD. And this was done, we knew that we were going to be awarded at the time of submission of the resolution, but we couldn't spend money till it went through state bond officially, which happened on April 11th of 2025. So, we're thrilled with all the attention that we have at the Homestead corridor, looking at the redevelopment plan. There are various parcels that the city controls on that corridor. The ones that are actually in front of you, the ones that are in black font, are the ones that would connect with these three properties and to create the whole block. And then there's other parcels throughout the corridor that have city control. So basically, what we're asking you for permission is to authorize the mayor to use surplus funding for the purchase of $1.6 million. And we will be drafting a resolution in the next month or so to officially ask the city council to receive the grant funding from DECD. And then upon receipt of those funds, the city surplus funds will be reimbursed with the grant dollars. So I know the seller is actually anxious to move these properties, and then once we have control of them, it'll align with the results of the redevelopment plan, and that would dictate what happens with these parcels. We may be putting out an RFP. No, we're still trying to investigate what's the best way to dispose of these things and what's the best uses, but that's going to be driven by the results of the redevelopment.
Excellent. Leave your screen up for a second in case somebody wants to look at some of these drawings. I see Councilman Mictum, your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you. So forgive me if this is, I'm on my phone, so I don't have this stuff close. Okay. But what is the cost? This is a question to Mr. Diaz. What is the outlay to buy these initially?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
What's the cost? What are, we're taking money from surplus funds. How much?
It's 1.6 million, which falls within the market rate, and we went to the state for the exact dollar amount.
And how's that reimbursement? How certain is that?
Well, how you call it, they received state bond commission approval already for the 1.6 million. So it's just a matter of going through the processes, going through city council, because putting an agreement together with the state of Connecticut, DECD, which require, all property acquisitions require city council approval. So we just want to make sure that we go through that process, which may take several months. So that's why we wanted to use the reserve funding to acquire the properties and then reimburse ourselves. And most of the time with the DECD grants, they're usually reimbursable anyway.
So the reason I asked this question, and I'm saying this because this is a question that maybe is not just for you, Mr. Diaz, but for my council colleagues or maybe anyone on here is, Maylene, estoy en una llamada, por favor. I'm sorry. The city is rather depending on its surplus money to be able to put a little more money to the Board of Education. And from what I understand, the estimated surplus is between 8 and 12 million. And so 1.6 million is a big chunk, and we have to have more than 5 million to give any to the schools. So my concern, well, how do I ask this? When we get paid back by DECD, is that still surplus money? That's my first question for anyone who can answer it. And my second question is, could we put this off? Could we postpone this whole thing till we know what our surplus is?
So your question, I don't know if Rich Vassallo can answer that, is where the 1.6 go back into the original fund that we're taking out of, right?
Correct. So that it would still count as surplus for the purposes of funding our schools.
Okay, that I don't know that. I can't answer that question.
That I figured you might not, and I don't blame you because it's not your bailiwick. But
Yeah.
what about timing? Can this just be postponed until we know what the surplus is?
I guess we can do that, or we can, I don't know I know we were talking earlier I was talking to Councilman Gale earlier. Maybe we can amend a resolution or the language which authorizes us to engage, to enter into a purchase and sales agreement and not actually disperse funding until that component has been addressed.
Yeah, so that was my thought, Councilman Mictum. I was concerned about some of the same things you are, and so I was proposing to add some language that says that this is contingent on receipt of the $1.6 million grant from DECD, which we can, and in consideration of your other point, we can also say, and that money is returned to surplus or considered surplus or something along those lines.
That makes
Actually,
sense to me.
If we have the money, Mr. Diaz, why don't we just use the DECD money to make the purchase? Why not, if we make it contingent on receipt of the DECD funds, can we just say we're not even using the surpluses, we're just going to use the DECD funds to purchase? Or is there still a time lag there?
Well, historically, with all my experiences with the ECD is that they're all reimbursable. So usually, but at that point, it doesn't really have to come from surplus. There's $1.6 million city funds that are going to be reimbursed after a financial closing. Usually the turn, once we get the paperwork into the state, usually they turn it around within a few weeks.
Okay, Attorney Vassallo, any thoughts on this?
Well, I think, as William Diaz has indicated, it's usually a reimbursement of funds that need to be first expended by the party that was receiving the grant. So where the funds are going to come from, if not from the surplus, I'm at a loss.
To Councilman Mictum's concern, is there any concern that the reimbursed money would not be considered surplus and therefore usable to fund Board of Education or whatever else
Right.
we've agreed to use surplus dollars for?
Yeah, that I don't have an answer to as I sit here. So.
Okay. Councilwoman Rosado, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So would it be possible, so we have a council meeting on Monday, and obviously this item is being discussed after the closure of the agenda. Therefore, it would not be on the Monday's meeting. Would we be able to send it back to council with no recommendation so that it is voted on at the end of the month, and perhaps in 3 weeks we would have an answer to all of these questions, or be able to amend the resolution?
Well, I think we can do that. If we have the power to do that if we want to do that. I take it you're okay with that. If we just send it back at this point and hope we get the answers by the time the June 23rd meeting happens.
Correct.
Okay, Councilman Mictum.
Well, let me ask a question of Mr. Diaz that may help me answer that question, which is, what is the urgency of this? Like, can we not buy this property a month or two from now?
Well, we've been getting pushed back by the seller since we engaged in the LOI. So they're pretty they really want to sell the property. And we just didn't want to lose out on the opportunity. So
Well, I'm
but
sure they want to sell the property. They're St. Francis Hospital, right? They want to get rid of their liability.
yeah, it's one of those, and we own the property in the middle of that 73 and 77 homestead, and like we deal with constant break-ins into our building, into our facilities. So I can imagine if they're dealing with the same issue. So
How long have they owned the property? Do you know?
um I can pull that up pretty quickly. Hold on one second. Yeah, 2014.
Okay, so they've been sitting on it for 11 years. I don't suppose another month is going to matter too much for them at this point. All right, well, Councilman Mictum, Councilwoman Rosado, somebody want to make a motion?
Move to postpone.
Well, I'll second that.
No.
Any other discussion on a motion to postpone? All in favor, say aye.
Plus.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. All right.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Diaz. So this one's going to get postponed as well to the next, and I trust you have in mind the questions that we're looking at for answers.
Yes, I do. I get that's
Yeah.
probably
All right, good. So hopefully we can move this thing forward.
No, that's a legit concern. I'll reach out to management and budget in the morning just to make sure that we don't lose the status of the funding where you can replenish to the board of that. So that's obviously a legit concern. Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see. Moving on to item 2.3 on our agenda, Councilman Hernandez, Surgeon, Rossetti, Rosado, Clark, and Thomas, resolution directing the Department of Public Works to evaluate and reconfigure bike lanes to support small business viability and multimodal safety. Now, I understand that we have one of the makers of that resolution with us, and that's Councilwoman Rosado, and that she would like to postpone this, to which I don't know that there'll be any objection. But I also, just coincidentally, I was on another committee meeting last night with Councilman Clark, where we were interviewing 4 appointees for one of the city commissions. And one of the comments that I made at that in interviewing those folks, and I've consistently made this over the years when interviewing folks who've come forward to volunteer their time to sit on our commissions, is that if they have any feedback to give to council at any time, or feel that we can be helpful in any way, I always encourage them to do so, telling them that our door is open. So tonight, as it turns out, I have received official communication from our Planning and Zoning Commission. So before I move on to take any motions on this, I'm just going to read into the record what I've received from the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And it reads as follows, and I'll give the hard copy to Saida to include with the minutes. Dear Council President Surgeon and members of the Court of Common Council, on behalf of the Hartford Planning and Zoning Commission, we respectfully submit this letter to express our strong opposition to Resolution R 2025 number 19, which directs the Department of Public Works to evaluate and potentially reconfigure existing bike lanes throughout the city. We recognize the importance of balancing multimodal transportation options with economic vitality. However, this resolution risks undermining foundational objectives outlined in the city's Complete Streets Plan Ordinance, Bicycle Master Plan, and Plan of Conservation and Development. These policies prioritize pedestrians, transit users, and bicyclists above motor vehicles and are critical to advancing Hartford's vision of an equitable, sustainable, and connected urban mobility. While the resolution acknowledges the role of the Bicycle Master Plan and Complete Streets policies, it ultimately places a disproportionate emphasis on perceived impacts to parking and business access without sufficient evidence or technical analysis. Hartford's planning framework explicitly identifies point one, the need to complete a low-stress bicycle network for users of all ages and abilities. Two, importance of reducing automobile dependency in favor of active transportation for environmental and public health reasons. And three, the vital role of bike lanes in connecting communities to economic opportunity, particularly for residents without access to personal vehicles. Concerns regarding parking and business impacts should be addressed through design refinements and enforcement, not through the rollback of infrastructure aligned with long-term policy goals. The resolutions call for alternative configurations such as time-restricted bike lanes or routing bike traffic away from commercial corridors, runs counter to established best practices, and may inadvertently reduce cyclist safety and network cohesion. Furthermore, the resolution's 180-day timeline for recommendations does not allow for adequate data collection or a robust public process. A meaningful evaluation of infrastructure changes should be rooted in performance metrics already established in the Complete Streets Plan, including safety statistics, mode share data, and public health outcomes. The Planning and Zoning Commission urges the Council to reconsider the current course of action rather than reevaluating existing infrastructure through a lens that prioritizes short-term convenience over long-term resilience. We recommend focusing on the implementation of the Bicycle Master Plan and expanding stakeholder education to build shared understanding of the benefits of a complete streets approach. Thank you for your consideration. We welcome the opportunity to collaborate with you and our fellow departments to ensure Hartford continues its progress towards becoming a walkable, bikeable, and economically vibrant city. Respectfully, Josie Utic, Chair, Hartford Planning and Zoning Commission. So thank you. I see Ms. Utic is on the screen, so thank you for that. I'm not going to engage in any other comments on this. The chair will recognize Councilwoman Rosado for a motion.
I make a motion to postpone this item in committee.
Second.
Is there any other discussion on the postponement of the item? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. Item 2.3 is postponed. That brings us to item 2.4. And I'm just going to note that item 2.4 and item 2.5 are identical in one respect. They both require public hearings, and both of the public hearings will not be held until June 16th. Our past practices are not to engage in any meaningful comment or discussion on matters until we've had the opportunity for the public to provide that input. So in typical fashion, we would be postponing these things until the next meeting of Planning and Economic Development Committee to allow for that public hearing. Do I hear a motion to postpone items 2.4 and 2.5?
I so move.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion about postponing those items at this time? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, moving on to item 2.6, which looks remarkably similar to 2.4 and 2.5 on the aspect of the fact that there's a public hearing for this matter, which is required, and that the public hearing will be on June 16th. However, there is one difference with item 2.6, and the difference with item 2.6 is that this is, as I understand it, part 2 of a larger process, and that this whole concept has already had considerable public input. And having discussed this with the maker and with staff, we thought that it might make some sense, and I think because there may be some bit of urgency to this, that we consider this tonight, listen to any input, ask our questions, and we can pass it forward without a recommendation, subject to comment from any comment that we've received from the public. So if other members will indulge me in that regard, I will call upon Mr. Diaz. I believe it's Mr. Diaz again, who's going to talk to us about this one.
Actually, yeah, I do have a few slides to share with you, but since we have Owen Deutsch on the line, Owen, if you're there, and if you don't mind explaining the special permit process for those on the line so they can understand the level of the process itself that we've already went through prior to this.
Sure, and good evening, council members. This item 280 Enfield required a special permit under our zoning code, as do all urban farms. And so in the previous Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, I believe held May 27th, that was approved, and there was an opportunity for public comment as part of that hearing and public noticing done in advance. There is an administrative approval, which is separate, and staff have already reviewed that to some extent and don't anticipate any issues with just completing that final approval. But the main approval allowing the use of this site for an urban farm was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission and was also noticed in the paper following that. So that should be effective either soon, if not already. Does that answer the question, you think, Will?
Yeah, I just wanted to give them some background because it's another public process. So it's just that one was for the special permit, and this is for the actual lease of the property, of the city property. But all right, so I'll just take it from here. So the city, the resolution in front of you is for the lease of 280 Enfield Street, which is a city-owned property, along with a release of grant dollars that have been allocated for this type of use. So the city of Hartford recognizes the existence of the persistent food desert in several neighborhoods, most accurately impacting the city's north end neighborhoods, where access to fresh, healthy, and affordable food is limited, and food insecurity has profound public health implications. We looked at urban agriculture has been identified as one of the proven strategies to increase local food productions and economic opportunities, beautify vacant land, and educate residents' nutrition and sustainability. On May 21st of 2024, via a council resolution, the city of Hartford committed $250,000 for community impact for an urban agriculture initiative. Levo International is a Hartford-based nonprofit organization that has demonstrated a commitment to innovative community-based food systems through its urban farming initiatives, workforce development, youth education programs, with the focus of addressing the existence of food deserts in several Hartford neighborhoods, with the city's Clayar, Sonora, Northeast being part of those neighborhoods. And Levo International wants to expand their mission into one of those neighborhoods, 280 Enfield, which is in the city's northeast neighborhood. So this is the layout of the of 280 Enfield Street with the hydroponic systems in place. Enfield Street will be the street to the right. Levo International has asked for $250,000 to be released to be spent accordingly. And you can see the budget in front of you. Most of the money is going to the materials and containers, which can be used in different locations that can be moved pretty easily, based on my conversations with Levo. I think like Owen mentioned, in accordance with city planning and zoning, property use is identified as an urban farm, which requires a special permit. On May 16, 2025, the City of Hartford Planning and Zoning Commission issued a motion to approve that special permit. Levo desires to lease the city-owned parcel for 5 years with possible extensions. We'll put standard termination language incorporated into the agreement. Levo will be responsible for maintaining the property, as everyone that has a lease with the city of Hartford is. And we're putting a reverter clause allowing the parcel to be turned over back to the city should a long-term development opportunity present itself. And like I said, most of these items are easy to move. And I had invited Bill Hayden from Levo to participate on the call. Are you with us, Bill? Maybe not.
I don't see anybody else.
You don't see anyone else on the call?
No.
Nick was supposed to join us. So there's a little bit of background about the Levo International. I posted on the screen, but I really wanted him to. He was supposed. I talked to him earlier. He was going to join, so I'm not sure what the issue is.
I'm not sure we're going to be able to read this screen, especially for Councilman Mictum, who's doing it on his phone. So maybe you could send us the slides at some point, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I can send you that. I can send over the proposal. It just talks about their mission. Levo has delivered more than 1,000 home hydroponics kits to Hartford families and conducted a range of educational programs from preschool to college and age students. So yeah, it's just a layout of their work, different projects they're working around, not only in Hartford but in Haiti, Puerto Rico, Jamaica. So just a little background on the company itself.
Anything else to offer?
That's all I have right here.
Okay, let me open it up and see if any council members have any questions for you about this.
Okay.
I have no questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Nor do I.
Okay. So, Mr. Diaz, I'm just curious. We're talking about hydroponics, which to me sounds like growing things in water. Am I correct that that's what they're proposing in some part?
Yes, there's not in the ground. So these have these systems where they're hanging from their casings, their metals, and not the vegetables are not actually growing from the ground.
Fascinating. And I take it that none of this is inside, is it? Is this land just
This is outside. This is all outside.
And this is just big parcel of vacant land?
Correct.
It's a very large, as I'm looking at the map, it's a very large parcel that seems to incorporate the interior of a block. Do you know what this lot was prior, what its prior use was?
It was a apartment complex. So if you're looking at actually the slide that I have, it's funny because it's backwards, but based on this slide where you see the green hydroponic systems, that's where the apartments were, and bottom piece was the parking area.
And all of those buildings no longer exist.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so I think I misspoke a little bit earlier in my discussions with Councilman Clark. What we talked about was asking our questions and taking no action at the committee level, but being prepared to discharge this to council after June 16th so that it could be on the, assuming that any comments we heard on June 16th didn't change anybody's mind about anything, we would then discharge it after June 16th so that it made it to the June 23rd council meeting. So that was the plan I discussed with Councilman Clark. Did anybody have any concerns or thoughts about that? If not, we'll just leave it on this agenda at this point with no action.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good, Mr. Chair.
Okay, in which case we're gonna leave it on here with no action at this point in time. And unless anybody has anything else, I've hit the end of the agenda here. Hearing and seeing nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks
Good night.
all. Have a good one.
Yeah.